Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today I'm going to get started on a new project, building a guitar with Fusion 360. If you haven't downloaded or installed Fusion 360, I have a video for that as well. So I have Fusion opened here, and right out of the box I'm going to change a few things. I don't like all this grid pattern. So I'm going to click here on the grid and snapping, and I'm going to uncheck everything. The snap to grid especially, that's only going to get you in trouble. Try to use it with that on. The rest of these are kind of optional. And also the way the scroll wheel works is reverse to the way I like it to work. So I'm going to go up here, click here, and then click on preferences. And on the opening page right here you can reverse the zoom direction. Click OK to that. Next, over in the document settings, my units are in millimeters, so I'm going to edit that as well. I'm going to change this to inches because that's what my CNC router is set up for. Okay, so we're ready to get started with that. So I'm going to head on over and open up my web browser and go over to electricherald.com. I'm going to go into this guitar templates and open the MSK Guitars MK1HH24 model and scroll down here and download. And once again click on the download and save the file. Now that's a PDF file and we can't use it for a canvas in Fusion 360, so I'm going to open up my snipping tool and I'm going to capture this page and then save it. And on my desktop I've created an MK1 folder and I'm going to save it in that folder as the master. So I can close the snipping tool and minimize my browser. So let's go ahead and open up that PDF and take a look at that file. It's here in my downloads. And I'm going to slide it over into the MK1 file on my desktop. So in general how this works, you can't just draw in any open space. You have to draw on some sort of construction plane. So for this drawing I'm going to use 5 different construction planes to get started with, and then we'll create some more as needed. But primarily, if we zoom in here, so primarily I'm going to put one plane on top of the guitar. I'm going to put one plane beneath the guitar, and then one at the back of the guitar, one on the top of the guitar, and then one on top of the neck here, minus the fretboard, just the neck proper. So we need to determine how high this neck is sticking above the top. So if you look here, the heel of the neck is 23.5 millimeters. The pocket for the neck is only 21 millimeters. So there's 2.5 millimeters of neck sticking above the top of the guitar. So keeping that in mind, let's head over to Fusion. So the first thing I want to do is create some planes, those 5 planes I just mentioned. And to construct those, I'm going to go up here to this offset plane and click on that. Now these are the 3 origin planes that come with Fusion on every project, and I never draw on these planes. Instead I just use them to make other planes. So for the first plane I'm going to click right here, and then it asks me a distance, and I'm going to go let's see, it's 2.5 millimeters plus 6 millimeters for the fretboard plus string height. I'm just going to call it 10 millimeters. So it's 10 mm. And I have to type in the mm because mine's set up for inches now. Click enter on that. So now you see I have a new tab over here for construction. And here's the first plane I just made. If you click slowly on this twice, you can edit. And I am going to call this my FB for fretboard layout. Okay, and I'm going to turn off that plane and do the same, repeat that. This time we're going to create the top of the neck, so it is 2.5 mm. And this one I will simply call the neck. Turn that off and repeat. Now this one, just click on this and leave the value at 0 and hit enter. And this one I'm going to call the top. Next, click, and well, this is a negative value. It's a negative 38 millimeters for the thickness of the guitar. And this one we're going to call the back. And lastly, I'm going to create a plane underneath that one. I'm just going to go with negative 40 millimeters. And this I'll call the master. Now for the most part you can leave these planes off. You rarely ever have to have the plane visible. Generally only if you want to use it as a cutting surface. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is install that canvas, that first snipping we took. So click on this insert canvas button right here, and then insert for my computer here, and then double click on the master file. Now the Fusion is showing you your options of where to place that canvas. And if we had all of these on, then you could see everything would be showing up here on the screen of where you can actually put that canvas. But as I said, you don't actually have to have these on. We just simply click right here. I want to put the canvas right here on this master plane. Now you can use this cube over here to rotate your view. Wherever you grab the cube, that's where it's going to be pivoted from. So it makes a little bit of difference how you hold it. Secondly, you can just highlight any of these surfaces and click on it for a top-down view. I want to go ahead and size this a little bit, so I'm going to grab this corner right here and start dragging it out. And from experience, I know this needs to be about 57. And click OK on that. And now I want to scale it exactly. You see we have a new canvas tab over here in the browser, and here's our master canvas. So if I right click on that, I can do a calibrate here. And for calibration, I'm going to go to this intonation line right here to the center line, and where those two intersect, I'm going to click once there, and then out here at the nut where it intersects the center line, I'm going to click once there, and then immediately type in 25.5 and hit enter. Okay, so now that it's calibrated to the right scale, I'm going to turn that off for the moment, and we're going to create a new sketch, and that's this button right here, create sketch. And again, Fusion wants to know where do you want to create the sketch. I'm going to create it at the same place here on the master plane. And now I'm going to go up here to this line tool. I'm going to click once here on this big anchor center point right here and start moving to the right, and then without clicking I'm just going to type in 25.5 and hit enter. Now you see you have a new sketch tab over here, If you open that up, I'm going to call this sketch the master sketch. So now we have a master plane, a master sketch, and a master canvas. I don't know why I always capitalize the second letter. I do that very often. Guess I'm getting slow as I'm getting older. Okay, so now we have this black line up here and this red lock right here on the sketch. What those two mean is this sketch is fully developed, it's all locked down, it's fully constrained. So nothing on this sketch can be moved right now. Even though we're still in editing, you can't move any of this, and that's because of constraints. And the constraints that are on this, it's pinned down here to this center point. It automatically said that it has to be horizontal, so it has to be 0 degrees or 90 degrees, and it has a length of 25.5. And with those three things, that pins it down and it's fully constrained. And this is what we're trying to achieve on every single sketch. Sometimes if you're using a lot of splines, it becomes just too tedious and we have to cheat a little bit and lock it manually. But generally we'll be able to get this done here. So this line doesn't need to actually be part of the drawing. We're just using it for reference, so we can click on it and you can go up here to this line type and click here for it to make it a construction line, or you can just press the X on your keyboard. When it becomes a dashed line like that, it's now a construction line, which is indicated here. So I'm going to escape out of that. I'm going to turn my master canvas back on. Now I'm going to adjust this canvas so that it's in the right position. So we're going to go up to the canvas, the master canvas, right click, and this time we're going to edit the canvas. Now we have this tool here to position with. When the arrows are highlighted, it will only move in those two directions. And when you click on the square here, you can move it at any direction you want. So get it down here and get it kind of close to where you want it to be. And then we'll scroll in a little bit here. And maybe switch over. Oh, and to, you saw me just move this whole plan like this. If you don't have a scroll wheel on your mouse, it'd be good to have one. And what I'm doing, I'm pushing down the scroll wheel and holding it and dragging it around. So I guess we could use this arrow here and back it up a little bit. And center, that's pretty close. I'm going to call that good enough and click OK here. And I'm going to go ahead and hide my canvas again. And we're still sketching, so I'm going to go ahead and create a nut for this center line. And if you look back over at the plan, we have this neck profile right here. Let's go ahead and grab that with a snipping tool and make sure you get all this information in here. And I'm going to save that in the MK1 folder as the neck profile. Can close that. So the neck profile is looking at the neck straight down from the head, and the head's removed. And so this is the truss rod, and these are carbon fiber chambers. All of this up here would be the fretboard, and then this is the radius at the nut and the radius back at the 24th fret. As you can see, there's no tapering to this neck. It's the same thickness all the way through the frets. It only becomes large once it gets back to the heel part. So this nut is 43 millimeters wide. Going to head back into Fusion. We're going to draw a line out here in the front anywhere. And I'm going to say 43 mm and hit enter. Now you notice the line is blue and the points are white. That means none of this is constrained. The line is not constrained, the points aren't constrained. But because all of this is constrained, we can just click on this line and we will constrain it to the midpoint of this line. right on this point here, you'll see everything turn black, and our red lock is still showing. We just used all the constraints on this line to stabilize this line. So next thing we need to do is decide how wide the heel end of our neck needs to be. So to do that, if you have your bridge in hand, then you can just measure from the E string to E string on your bridge. If you want to follow this plan exactly, you can look up here in the top right hand corner and see the bridge that he specifies for this project right here. Now my bridge meets these specs pretty much exactly, but it's not this bridge. It's a much cheaper bridge. And if you're not sure and you have in mind what you'd like to have, you can go to a website that sells that equipment. StewMac's real good for this. Go into parts and hardware and bridges and tailpieces for the electric guitar. I'm going to search by brand and just use the hip shot. Right here, this hardtail bridge right here. And as you can see, it has a full diagram of it. This would also be used to get the exact height for your fretboard. But all we're really interested in right now is this number right here. From E string to E string, it's 2.08 inches. And that's all the information we need right now. So I'm going to draw another line back here anywhere. 2.08. And again, I'm going to constrain that, clicking on the line, midpoint constraint at this point. And then I'm going to escape out of that. Now if I just draw two lines on here from dot to dot on each side of the neck, careful when you're drawing these lines. Sometimes when you draw dot to dot, when you move to the next one, it's still attached to the last dot. Not sure why. But then if we turn the master canvas back on, you'll see where we're at here. At the nut, we're exactly right to the edges of the fretboard. And the strings at the nut are very close to the edge of the fretboard. However, back here, we're in line with the strings, obviously, because that's how we drew it, E string to E string. But this distance to the edge of the fretboard is greater than it was at the nut. So we need to add some dimension into this line, make it longer. And that length is generally about 0.36 inches. So I'm going to hide this master canvas again. And I'm going to just simply Control Z back out. And now I'm going to draw a line again, straight down, 2.08, and then plus 0.36. Enter. So generally my line needs to be 2.44 inches. So I can click on the line, constrain it to this point, escape out of that. You can either keep coming back up here to this line tool with your mouse, or you can just press the L button on the keyboard to draw lines. So it's L, draw, click, click, click. Okay, so now we're fully constrained, and if you bring up the master canvas again, you'll see that's about exactly what his bridge design is like. And also, like I said, be aware of the thickness, how high the bridge saddles are. You're probably best, if you're going to try to design this one, to go with a flat tailstock like we're using here, hardtail. Any kind of Gibson, something like that would introduce, we'd have to put a break angle in this neck, and I'm not going to demonstrate that in this video. So we want something down like a 1/4 inch from the top of the guitar, Fender style. Okay, so now we need to determine actually how long this neck actually is exactly. So if you go back over to this drawing, if you scroll down to the right hand bottom corner, in millimeters, from the 24th to the 25th, which is the end of the fretboard, is 494.863 millimeters. I'll be needing to type in all of this information later, and I don't want to do it in millimeters. So I'm going to go back over to the StuMac site and go to the fret position calculator. Type in here my 24 frets and my scale length of 25.5, and make sure that inches is ticked here, and calculate that and snip that out as well. And I'll save this at 25.5. And so I see my 24th fret is 19 1/8 of an inch. So I can go back to my drawing here. So I'm going to draw another line, 3 inches. And again, I'm going to click on the line and put one midpoint constraint right out here on this center line. Now that dropped it right square in the center of the plan. So I'm going to escape out of that, and I'm going to click on this constraint right here, and then right click and delete the constraint so that we can move the line. And then I'm going to use the dimension tool, and it's found in this palette right here on the bottom, or you can just press the D key. And once the dimension tool is in use, you can just click on the line, click on the nut line, and then I'm going to go way down here on the bottom. Now this, you can kind of land those numbers where you want them to be on this line, and they'll kind of stick there. So I'm going to get over here, and I'm going to click once, and then I'm going to type in 19.125 plus 0.2, hit enter. Okay, so to get it back fully constrained, what we want to do is go to this create and point, and then scoot up this line. When you get to midpoint, it will kind of snap in, that X will show up. So we'll put a point right there, and then we'll go up here to coincidence, and this line and this point will be coincidence. Now you can see it's fully constrained again. Now we can't move that line anywhere, it's locked in. Now I can grab the trim tool and trim these edges off. And escape out of that and select all of this and delete that. Now you can see these two blue lines aren't defined anymore. I think it's just a matter of adding angles on here. So if we press D for the dimension tool and dimension this line to this nut. Now this one, you just click enter twice. No need to type anything. And same thing for this line up here. This line to the nut line. And just click enter twice. And that took care of it. Now we're fully constrained again and locked down. Okay, now what we want to do is send all this information up to the right place to build this neck. This master drawing that we're working on here, this master sketch, it is just that. We're not really going to build any parts down here at this level. We're going to ship everything up to where it needs to be. So we can finish this master sketch. And we're going to create a new sketch, and this time we're going to create it up here on this neck level. And then go to this create button and down to project include, and I'm going to use this project, which is the P key on the keyboard to project. And what are we going to project? Well, really everything. We're going to project this line. Yeah. and then close the project tabs, and we can close the master sketch, and we'll give this one the name neck. And you'll see it is still fully defined even though we've moved it. Now from here we're going to create some more planes to put a radius on the fretboard. So we're going to finish this sketch, and we are going to construct plane at angle. Now any of this stuff in this menu here that you want to pull up here, all you have to do is go to these little three buttons over here and pin it to toolbar. So now plane at angle, and I'm going to pick this nut line right here, then type in 90 and hit enter. You can barely see it now because we're looking straight down from the edge. And this plane I'm going to call the nut, and you can hide the plane. We're going to do the same thing again back here at this heel. Type in 90 degrees or just 90, hit enter, and this one I'm going to call the 25th. And we can turn that off. Okay, now go up and create sketch, and we're going to create it on this nut plane. And as you can see, it rotated into position looking straight at it from the left. If we turn back on the master and hit this home button, you can kind of get a feeling for where it is. Actually, that's not the master, that's wrong. The neck sketch is still on. So from this neck sketch, first thing I can see, this line actually needs to be construction line. So let's go ahead and finish this sketch for the moment. Go back to the neck, right click and edit. Click on this center line here and hit the X. Finish the sketch. Now go back to this sketch, which we will call the nut. Right click and edit sketch. Put this back in the home view, home perspective, and go up here, or rather just press the P key and project this line onto the sketch, and click OK on the projection, and you can turn off the neck. Now click right here on this right, so we're looking straight on from the right side. And now we want to insert from my computer the neck profile. And where do we want to insert it? We want to insert it on the nut construction plane. And I can see the letters are backwards, so I can horizontal flip right here. And then we can just kind of pull this thing out to size pretty much right here on the spot. Just pull it out a little bit and then move it. You can see that round circle there, it needs to be there. And it's a little bit too long now. Shrink it back in a little bit. And it's pretty close for the moment. I'll go ahead and say OK for that move, and then go over here to the neck profile canvas, right click and calibrate it, and we'll calibrate from this line to this line, 43 millimeters. And then we'll go back, right click and edit canvas. Now we can just use these arrow buttons and shape it right in there. So it needs to be right in this line right here, between these two lines. And click OK on that. And we can hide it for the moment. Actually, we need it for the moment. Okay, so you look right here, and we need to know the thickness of this neck minus the fretboard. So it's 19.2 minus the 6 inches, 13.2 inches thick. So we can hide this. Click on your line tool, anchor it to this center point, and start dragging down, or start moving down, and then type in 13.2 millimeter, and make that a construction line. Now go up here to the create and come down to spline, fit point spline. So we click once on this point, once on this point, once on this point, and hit enter. Now highlight this handle and click on the handle, and we'll make that horizontal. Now escape out of that, click on the line, and go ahead and pull these handles up above 45 degrees, like that. And then you can highlight one handle and make that vertical, and click on the other handle to make it vertical. And for a symmetrical neck, now you want to click on the equal sign and put an equal constraint between this handle and this handle. You can escape out of that, bring your neck profile back in. Now you just push these handles up and down, side to side, to create the profile you want. And there again, if you want to do an asymmetrical neck, then you would not equal these two sides, and they would move individually. And we can turn this neck profile canvas back off, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to finish right there. And every time I do this, there's always this remnant here. Not sure why. Just click on it and it disappears. Okay, so we can turn that sketch off, create another sketch, and this one we will create on the 25th fret, and then we're going to do it all again. I'm going to turn the neck sketch back on. I'm going to go to the home. I'm going to create project, and we're going to project this line and say OK to that. And I'm going to turn my neck sketch back off. I'm going to look on it straight on from the right side. Line tool, 13.2 millimeter. Unless you want to put taper in your neck, then you could increase that if you wanted to. I'm going to make this construction line. I'm going to create spline, fit point spline, click, 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 enter. I'm going to highlight and click on this handle, make it horizontal, escape out of there, click on the line, bring these two handles up proud of 45 degrees. Otherwise, when you click on this, they'll probably go horizontal instead of vertical. Click on one of these and vertical, click on the other one, vertical, escape, bring the neck profile back in, and square everything up. Oh, I didn't equal those, did I? Let me back out of that. Escape all that. Yeah, so back to this point, and equal this side to this side. Now I can escape out of that and bring the canvas back in. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to turn off this canvas, and I'm going to get rid of this little guy by clicking on it. Now you'll notice neither one of these are fully constrained. We'll go ahead and do that now. So let's go ahead and give this sketch a name. And we'll call this one the 25th. And if it didn't come back to edit mode, what you do, you would right click on it and edit sketch. But I clicked on it twice, so it came back into edit mode. And so for constraints on here, let's see, for a spline, you can click on your dimension and dimension this handle and enter twice on that, and dimension this handle Click twice on that, and that's all it needed because this line is already locked down. So we can finish that sketch, close that sketch, right click on the nut, edit sketch, D for dimension, handle, enter, enter, handle, enter, enter, and that locked it down. Finish that sketch. Now open those two sketches, go to your home perspective view here. Now we're going to use what's called a loft. So you can go to this create and drop down here till you'll find loft. I'm going to go ahead and pin that up top here to the toolbar. So loft, click on the tool, get in the shaded area, over to this shaded area. Make sure it says new body right here and click OK. Now we have bodies, and this is the first body, and we're going to call it the neck. Okay, deselect everything by clicking in blank space and extrude. I'm going to extrude this top face, and I'm going to extrude it in an upward direction, a positive direction of 6 millimeter. Now make sure it's not in this join operation over here. Change it over to new body and click OK. And this body we're going to call FB, fretboard. Okay, you can hide that neck, and on this fretboard, going to rotate it around here. Whoop, I flipped all crazy on me there. Going to rotate it around here to this back view. It's not the back, it's the left view. Now I'm going to create another construction plane, and I'm going to create it right from this face right here. And the distance away can be as minute as you want it to be, just as long as it's away. So I'm just going to put 0.1 right there. Just as long as it's not touching is all that matters. And I'm going to call this plane the radius. Hide that plane. And I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to create it on the radius plane. Put this into an off. I'm going to move this off center a little bit so I can see what's going on. And then I am going to press my P key for project, and I'm going to project just this one line right here and click OK. And turn off the fretboard. Click on the left side so we're looking straight on at the left hand side. And now I'm going to go to create circle, 2-point circle. So I'm going to slide over here till I get to the midpoint. When it clicks into the midpoint, I'm going to click once, start moving straight down, and type in my diameter. So for a 24-inch diameter will give me a 12-inch radius. So to lock this circle down, I'm going to click on the circle, and then I'm going to make it tangent to the line. Escape out of that. Now I'm going to hit the D key for dimension, and I'm going to dimension from this point right out here to the center point of the circle. And make sure your line is diagonal like that, not square like that. And hit enter. Escape, enter again, and escape out of that, and everything is locked down and looking good over on this end. You can finish that sketch. Bring your fretboard back up. I'm going to go to the home view. Now if you wanted to have a compound radius on your fretboard, you would do the exact same process by creating a plane just off this side and a different sized radius, a different radius circle on this side. And then you would use the loft between the two circles. But I'm going to use a single radius on my fretboard, so all I have to do is just extrude. Now make sure the neck is on for this. If you turn the neck off, you won't get any options for cutting. And then just pull it all the way to the other end, make sure it goes off the end. Now we're not going to do a cut here, we're going to do this intersect. And click OK. And there you have it, a 12-inch radiused neck. Well, okay guys, I think that's going to do it for this go around. Next time, I don't think I'm going to start doing the fret positions and inlays yet. I'm going to save that because I'm still thinking about some kind of inlay for this guitar. I'm not sure what I want to do there yet. Still thinking about binding as well. I'm not sure what I want to do for binding, or if I'm going to do any binding. Possibly no binding on this one. We'll see. Yeah, so I think next time we're going to work on this headstock up here. And if we have time, maybe the heel. But that's going to do it for today. And thanks you guys for watching my videos, and God bless everybody. Oh, one last thing before I go. Don't forget to save. You can go up here to the save, or you can just Control S. Give this project a name. I'm just going to call this the that's not an MK build. If you've been keeping up at all on the channel and you've noticed that these videos have appeared and disappeared, I think 3 times now. I keep making critical errors and that I don't really catch them in time. Even though I watch the video several times, I don't see the mistakes until, and in one case, a few days later, I noticed that I did something drastically wrong, and I shouldn't be showing others how to do those kind of mistakes. But this one, I think these are the keepers. I'm going to try to make sure everything is right before I load these. Take care.